Time for the market report. Prices still rising.
And it would seem international issues are still a big reason for it. We'll get into it. But first, the numbers. What were the week's biggest gains and losses? And then the annual poultry production report, along with oil and seeds and crop progress. And finally, in our row report, market analyst Arlan Suderman talks international trade. So, markets closed yet again on the upswing with, once again, livestock split. Let's take a look. The week's biggest gain, cotton up nearly 5 cents, more than a 6% increase from the previous week. The week's biggest loss, lumber, down 9.5 bucks, more than a 1.5% decrease from the previous week. So, some new reports released by the USDA that give us some insight into the current state of ag here in the U.S. First up, the 2025 Poultry Production Value Report, followed by this month's Fats and Oils Report, and then the latest Crop Progress Report. Here's what they had to say. In the 2025 Poultry Production and Value Summary Annual Report, combined production value of broilers, eggs, and turkeys up 16% from 2024. Of that, 55% were broilers, 39% eggs, 7% turkeys, and less than 1% from chickens. Value of broilers produced last year down 2% compared to 2024, while total number produced up 1% and live weight up 2%. Value of turkeys up 51% compared to 2024, while number raised down 3% and total production also down 5%. Value of all egg production up 49% compared to 2024, while production down 4%. In this month's Fats and Oils report, soybeans crushed for crude oil in March 6% higher than February this year and 10% higher than last year. Actual oil produced also up 6% compared to February and 7% compared to last year. Soybean oil once refined production up 14% compared to February and 7% from last year. Canola seeds crushed for crude oil in March this year up 21% compared to February this year and 21% higher than March last year. Actual oil produced up 18% compared to February this year and 13% from March last year. Canola once refined oil production up 24% from February this year and 3% from March of last year. In the latest Crop Progress Report, the 18 highest corn-producing states have 38% corn acreage planted, the same as last year, and 4% higher than the 4-year average. In the 18 highest soybean-producing states, 33% acreage planted, 5% higher than last year, and 10% higher than the 4-year average. In the 15 highest cotton-producing states, 21% acreage planted, 1% higher than last year, and 2% higher than the 4-year average. In the 6 highest rice-producing states, 79% acreage planted, 7% higher than last year, and 13% higher than the 4-year average. This week in our row report, international trade, a big issue concerning prices, especially between the U.S. and China. Analyst Arlan Suderman gives some speculations on what could happen and the results of those decisions. Suffice to say, the upcoming deal could have a large effect.
I think it'll be critical to watch again the May 14-15 visit of Trump to Beijing. Is corn and or ethanol in the trade agreement? I think there's a that's not a forecast, but I think there's a possibility it could because of some of the dynamics in China. China doesn't need the corn, but they have room for the corn. They don't have room for the soybeans in their reserve. And so therefore it could. And if that were to happen, let's say 10 million metric tons of corn, that would certainly have a big impact on the balance sheet, particularly since this next year is expected to be a significantly smaller crop. So that trade agreement is the next pivotal thing, May 14-15. So May 12th, crop report for wheat, May 14-15 trade agreement with China, assuming that Trump goes, that the war allows him to be away from Washington to go. I think that will tell us a lot. It'll be a very pivotal time for the rest of the year for marketing. If the May trade agreement includes any old crop soybeans, then we suddenly have a concern. If it doesn't, we don't have any concern with old crop. But the other question is, will they renegotiate the 25 million metric tons that's in the handshake agreement for next marketing year and the 2 after that? With this biofuel program, we won't have the 25 million metric tons short of an amazingly large crop. And so the market would need to buy late acres. But if there's a lot of corn in there as well, corn will suddenly really need to. And that's why if you've really been watching over the last couple of weeks, it's the new crop, November soybeans, December corn that have had the action. That's where we've seen more energy of late. Starting to worry about the acres. Now, if neither is in a trade agreement, we've got enough to get us to the next harvest, and we've probably got enough for the next year as well. But the real concern is if we're going to have to import probably about 1.6 billion gallons or so of already made fuel to hit the RVO requirement this year, according to our vegetable oil people. And because we don't have the capacity to produce it here in the United States. If we had the capacity and the crush capacity, then we'd be worried about enough soybean acres for next year with this RVO.
And that's it for a deeper look into the markets. Let's not forget that weather also a big factor in prices right now, as there's still a drought going on with no sign of letting up.